Hi everyone, Rose Wildsmith here. This is a paint with me video, and I am painting this shrine inspired by the star card from tarot. If you want to see how I made the original shrine form from recycled materials, then you can go and watch my other video. This was originally going to be a real-time paint with me video, but I ended up with 8 hours of footage, so I've had to speed some parts of it up. This is a very raw and vulnerable video where I talk through the decisions I make as I go and how things sometimes go wrong and I change my mind. I also chat about other things as I'm painting as well. Hopefully I can keep you company on whatever project you're working on. So let's get started. I decided that I wanted to use the star card from tarot as my inspiration. So I looked at the different elements, and then what I did was I took a photo of my shrine form, and in Photoshop I removed the background and just had the shape of the shrine form, and then I duplicated it so I could come up with some design ideas. If you don't have Photoshop, you could just do a little sketch of the shape of your shrine and then you can use it to come up with different ideas. So I was looking at the star card, and there's like this big star, obviously, is like the main feature, and then there's 7 little stars. So I was playing around with how I could do that, and so I tried having the big star in the middle and then the 7 little stars around like that. Another thing about the star card is that the water that she's pouring from her jugs here are symbols of fertility, and also these red spots here are roses. So I wanted to incorporate that into the design as well. And I tried a few different ways with the different kinds of blue, and so in this one I've got the jugs pouring. I decided I didn't want the naked person because that was sort of not very compelling for me as a design feature. But I did like having these jugs pouring out the water, and I liked having the greenery in the background and the roses. But I felt like it was important to have 1 big star and 7 little stars. So I tried doing that in different ways. Yeah, so these are the ones I came up with. So I quite like the simplicity of this one, but I really do like having the greenery and the jugs pouring the water, so I feel like that's missing from this one. I think this one's probably my favourite, but I feel like it's a little bit too busy with all these bits coming out of the star. I really like this one actually, where the water falls all the way down from the top and then it's almost like it's nourishing these roses that are growing up the side. But I wasn't quite as keen on the position of all the little stars on this one. And then I thought maybe I could try having just like little tiny stars inside the shrine, because I'm thinking that one of the things you might want to do is like put things in there that then it might cover up the big star. But I actually didn't like how this looked in the end. And then also for balance you end up having to have 2 big stars, which is kind of moving away from the traditional star card. I think this was the last one that I tried because I did really like this setup, and I liked these flowing down here, but I decided I didn't want these rays coming out of the sun, so I had 1 big star in the middle. But I'm not so keen. So I think in the end I've decided that this is the one I'm going to go for, but I'm going to swap this star with all the rays for just 1 big star like in this one. So I've put my design on here with pencil. It maybe doesn't show up very well on film. I just used a mechanical pencil, and when I made a mistake and I went to rub it out, it sort of smudged. It kind of like went into the gesso. So it's not great, but I'm going to paint over it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I've decided to go for this Liquitex Heavy Body Brilliant Blue. These colours were from colouring pencils, so then I looked through my paints and I think this is the closest I could come to this kind of blue, which I really like. It's funny because in the star card obviously you get like slightly different variations on how the colours are done, but in this one the sky is kind of green. It's not blue at all. Initially I really liked the idea of it being like a dark night sky with the star, but then I think if I'm going to do this tree and the greenery and everything, it makes more sense for it to be more of a kind of daytime blue. And in the star card it is kind of a daytime blue, so I think that's fine. And also I thought that I didn't want it to be too dark as an object. I want it to be quite colourful. So So that's the blue that I've gone for. I've got a nice warm yellow, which is cadmium yellow medium for the star, for the stars, I suppose. And then I've got a dark green and a light green for the foliage. And then as I go along, I will then also fill in the vases and the roses, but I can do those later. Yeah, and then I've got a few different brushes. Some of them are smaller for more detailed stuff, and then some bigger ones for like filling in larger spaces. I've also got some Posca pens which I might use for more of the detail work, especially like the little leaves. I'm feeling a little bit nervous about about doing this because I haven't painted a shrine before. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting. So I think I'm going to start with the yellow for the stars. So I've got some open medium here, which will stop it from drying out too quickly. And it should also hopefully help a little bit with the consistency. And I've got a little bit of matte medium as well. Because I really want the finish to be matte. I don't want it to be glossy. Well, that's a lovely yellow. Do a little bit of blue, and then I might come back and see if I can do another layer of the yellow before the paint dries out. I actually find that the consistency of heavy body paints can sometimes be a bit too thick for me. I think I prefer the fluid ones actually. Kind of just blocking in the main areas with this big brush, and then I'll go back in and do a bit more of a careful bit around the star. Running out of paint already. I was looking at this and thinking, well, I hope this is enough for the whole thing. I hope it will be. I'm telling myself that I'm not going to buy any more paints because I've got such a huge collection. But I do have a collection of quite a few different colours, so if I commit to using one particular colour for a project and then I run out, that might mean I have to replace that one. I may have to break my own rule a little bit. I think it's fine to replace things if I've actually used them up. I think it's just the like hoarding new things, and I've got so many things I haven't used yet. It was my main reason for putting myself on a bit of a buying ban. Also to save some money, you know. What do you reckon? I've got these little bits that are kind of hidden from view, but I think I should probably still paint them. Now I think this brush is going to be a bit too big for doing the details on the front, and I am going to want to paint the sides and the back, but I think I'll do that separately. So I think for now I'm going to switch brushes and try and paint in between the stars and the background here. I've made a decision. I'm not going to try and paint in between each of the leaves. I'm going to paint over them and then paint the leaves over the blue, which may mean I have to do that with Posca, but that's okay. You know, maybe it would have been more sensible to just paint the whole thing blue as a background colour and then do the design over the top. But some of these colours, like the yellow, are quite transparent, so then that would mean they wouldn't lay over the blue very well. They'd sort of turn green. So I don't know whether this is the right approach, but it's the first time I've done anything like this, so it's kind of learning as I go. Feels a little bit like living dangerously being this close to the yellow, because I know if I go over it, it's going to be really hard for the... Saying that, I just did it. If I get blue on the yellow, it's going to be hard to fix it by putting more yellow over the blue. Maybe I have to mix the yellow with a little bit of white eventually if I need it to be more opaque. I just realised I've got paint all over me. Making a bit of a mess. I was merrily painting away, and then I hadn't realised that my camera had died. It cut out quite a bit of my painting. So sorry about that, but I'm going to carry on now. I was thinking about the blue, and I'm just having second thoughts about it. And I found this cobalt blue, which is slightly closer. Show you the original picture. It feels like it's slightly closer to the blue that's on here. This one feels a bit too turquoise and a little bit too like light, whereas this one feels more in line. But I don't know how much I've got in this little pot here. But I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to just go for it, and I'm going to paint over the top and see how it works. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. It's got like the undertone. It's a little bit translucent, so I guess the other blue comes through. So I think I definitely like the colour, but the brush marks are showing up quite a lot. So I think I might end up having to do 2 coats, which is probably fine, as long as I have enough. I guess I can always go and get some more, but I'm really trying to avoid buying new things and trying to use up the things I have this year. It's kind of my aim. I mean, I guess I could also maybe mix a blue similar to this with some other things, but... And the other thing I've found with this so far is that it's quite fiddly getting in between all these bits. So I don't know how to tackle it really, other than to just not worry too much. And also I'm kind of feeling like it doesn't really matter if I go over like objects that are going to be in the painting, because I can come over with those over the top later. It did make me think, actually, I think for the objects like the trees and the roses and these little stars, and maybe even the edges of that big star, I think I'd prefer to use a Posca pen because it gives you much more control. And also they're opaque. It doesn't really matter what colour is underneath, because that's the thing with these acrylic paints. Some of them can be quite translucent unless they've got titanium white mixed in. So then they're affected by the colour underneath. But Posca pens are very opaque usually, so should be okay. This is the first time that I've painted a shrine, so it may be that it's not very professionally done, but that's part of the fun of trying these things, isn't it? And my aim is always to share on this channel that I believe that creativity should be available to everyone, and even if it's not something that you try and immediately you're really good at, like just the process of trying it is fun and is worth doing, you know. And also sometimes I think it helps to see other people having a go and being like, that didn't work how I wanted, I'm going to change course, do something different. When you see people who are just like, oh yeah, this is so easy, I'm just going to make it look, and obviously they've put a lot of practice in, but sometimes like seeing what it takes to do the practice is maybe helpful. Sort of like, I'm just gonna paint over these stars now because I'm finding it really hard to paint around them, and then I can come back over with the Posca pen. Maybe I'm being too impatient, but that's how I feel. So as I'm recording this, it's the end of January 2025, and this month I was reading a book about winter. Called Wintering by Catherine May, and in it she talks about the Druid's eightfold wheel of the year, and she interviews a Druid and he says, yeah, it's great because there's always something to celebrate every 6 weeks all throughout the year. And I was like, that is amazing. And this Saturday coming up is Imbolc, the 1st of February. So I was talking to my husband about it, and we were like, maybe we could make a cake for every different celebration all throughout the year and have different cakes for like that suit the different seasons. Seems like a very sensible idea to me. So we were thinking about like, what could you have for all the different ones? And this one, because it's kind of close to Mardi Gras, and actually I was reading into like Imbolc celebrations, so the pancake is actually a good option for this celebration. Oops. And we found a recipe for a pancake layer cake. It's a Danish recipe and it's got the most amazing name. It's called Pandakagalagaka or something like that. You have to cook like 24, 25 pancakes, thin pancakes. So like European pancakes are usually really thin, like a crepe. So you have to cook like 25 of them or 24 of them without eating them, which is going to be the challenge. And obviously you might take quite a while. And then in between each pancake that you cook, you spread a layer of cream. I think that's mixed with icing sugar, something like that, and raspberry jam. and you stack them up one on top of the other. And at the end, you've got like a celebration style cake, which looks amazing. And then you can like top it with whipped cream and like fruit or sprinkles or whatever. So that's our plan for the weekend. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And I was looking at like, what other things do you do for Imbolc? And getting out into nature is obviously one. Like trying to spend time with some of the spring bulbs, snowdrops, things like that. I think I might buy some tulips because I have seen them in the shops. I decided I was going to paint over stars, didn't I? That makes it much easier. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that, like maybe buy some tulips, go to the park, see if I can find some daffodils, not daffodils, snowdrops, see if there are any other spring bulbs, because actually the snowdrops have been out for a little while now. See what other things I can find and make this pancake layer cake, which just sounds amazing. And then the next celebration is the spring equinox, which is on the 20th of March, I think, this year, or the 21st, somewhere around then. And actually all my family, their birthdays are all in this period as well, like February, March time. So we're going to have birthday cake opportunities as well. Quite liking this blue. It's a bit more in line with what I think I wanted. And I did actually want to use it first of all, but I looked at the little bottle and I thought, oh, I'm not going to have enough. So I changed my mind. And I should have just trusted my instinct, shouldn't I? Because then I painted it with this one and then I ended up not liking it as much. So there you go. But experimentation and practice is the name of the game for me. And I find it is always so helpful to just take a step back, like leave your piece that you've been working on, go away from it, you know, overnight or just even like for a couple of hours, just leave it and then come back to it with fresh eyes. And then you think differently about it. You get like more clarity about what it is that you think you want to do next, whether you like what you've been doing so far. And I did actually paint the back, but I think that is less important than getting the colour right in the front. So if I don't have enough left over, I might paint the back a different colour. Maybe like a darker blue, something like that. Okay, so I am back. I've let this dry, but it is, I mean, it's not been that long and it still feels a little bit tacky in places, but it is mostly dry. I found another cobalt blue, so it's a different brand and a different consistency, but it should be close enough in colour, and I thought I might use it to do the back. So I thought, seeing as this is still sort of drying, I'm going to get on with doing the back with this one. This is my favourite brush of all time, and it's so scraggly. It's just the perfect size for everything. Okay. So I might not do this very back bit just yet. I'm going to do the sides where I've already done the other blue. And anyway, I didn't go and buy this. I just happened to look a bit further into my paint stash and found it there. So this is a good reason why I should not go buying new things at the moment, because I have so much stash of stuff like paint that I just, half the time I don't even know what it is that I've got. I'm really liking this cobalt blue. It's nice. It's definitely like a sky colour, isn't it? Like a nice summer's day sky. It's much nicer now. I know I don't have to be so careful about using up the whole bottle. Be a bit more liberal with the paint. Well, this is the back, so I don't really need to do it, but I am going to do it anyway. And then I'll come back and when it's dry enough that I can turn it over, I'll do the other side. Okay, it's dry. I'm going to do another coat. I covered this up with cling film. I feel like this is the part of a project where it's the messy middle. Do you know what I mean? Like when you start out and you have an idea in your head and you haven't started yet, and it's always really exciting. And especially with this shrine, when it looked so nice when it was white, and it, you know, it's like, oh, it has so many possibilities of what it could end up being. And then you actually start painting it, and then halfway, this is the sort of halfway stage where you're just like, what am I doing? This is terrible. I feel like that at the moment. I feel like I'm spending so much time painting the blue background. I'm just like, why am I spending all this time painting this blue background? Why is it taking so long? And then you have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to push through this middle bit because it always gets better. Even if you have to take several detours before it gets better, it will get better. And actually that's part of the fun in a way, or the process, the learning process is experimenting and trying things. If you knew exactly how it was going to turn out, it wouldn't be art anymore, would it? It would be like manufacturing. If you knew exactly what you were going to make and how you were going to make it. I think, again, I'm going to have to let this dry, although I am keen to try get the front finish as well. Maybe I can do some sort of... No, that's going to be too much danger of smudging. I'm just going to leave it, let it dry again. There's a little bit of blue in here. I might stick that in a sketchbook page. Why not? Leftover paint can make such a great starting layer for your sketchbook or your art journal, or, you know, collage paper. You can also do that, especially if you just like use it almost like to wipe off the brush. You end up with some really nice natural marks. Right, so the back is dry and I'm actually really happy with this colour, but the front, the colour doesn't look the same still, I think because it's got that turquoise underneath. So I'm going to plough on and do yet another coat. And at this stage I feel like it's maybe the definition of madness, you know, just carrying on, doing more and more coats of this blue paint. I'm hoping that eventually it'll come together and then we can do the fun bit, which is drawing on all the things with Posca pen. Like my pencil design thing has gone completely out the window now. I'm just like painting over everything. But, you know, I should hopefully be able to remember where everything is supposed to go. So yeah, this is also a bit of a new format of video for me for YouTube. This like real-time paint with me. I don't think I've done one like this before. So please let me know if you're still watching at this stage and it's helpful to you or you're enjoying it. Please let me know, because I have no idea really. I think I always assumed in the past like, oh, people aren't going to want to watch me doing the boring like bits where you're actually just painting, you know, layers of blue one after another, like a person who has lost their grip on reality. But then I came across, because as I've mentioned in other videos, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and I did come across this concept of body doubling. And I'm not sure that I really love the phrase body doubling. It sounds a bit weird, but I think the concept is that for certain people, and people with ADHD is supposed to be one of those kinds of people, doing something with someone else doing it alongside you means that you're much more likely to actually stick with it. And I guess stick with it is the thing, or like it's motivating to have someone doing it with you. And also maybe it's just like comforting as well. So I was thinking like, actually, these real-time paint with me things might be quite nice. I've also recently started up a Patreon, so I was doing a bit of research on different Patreon things that other people offer. And so I joined a few people's Patreons as well, just to see like what how other people do it. And one of the things I noticed is that people do a lot of videos of like that are a lot more casual and kind of a lot more like this sort of thing, where they're just like, I'm doing some art, so I'll just turn my camera on. It's quite nice. I quite like the idea of like, while I'm doing my artwork, if I'm not filming it, sometimes I just put, you know, a podcast on, or I might put a video on, and because I'm focusing on what I'm doing on my art, I can't pay it complete attention to what's going on the screen. So you don't want it to be something that's too, like, that you're going to miss too much if you're like deeply engrossed in what you're doing and you look away. It can, yeah, so it can cause a bit of a problem if you're watching something that's too heavily edited, because then you're like prone to miss stuff. But the idea of like someone's just painting at like actual normal pace of how long it actually takes someone to paint, and maybe chatting a little bit as well, and you can just have it on
and it feels like you're kind of hanging out with a mate who's also painting, because I love doing that with friends. Often it's just me on my own. Sometimes it's difficult to arrange to meet up with people and just hang out. Like, or you have to be quite good friends with someone, I think, to be like, let's just meet up and not really talk to each other. Let's just hang out and do our own thing. Maybe chat occasionally. But yeah, it's quite nice. And so arranging to do it in real life is difficult unless you're like on a paid workshop or something. Yeah, the idea of having like people online who you can like turn a video on and it feels like you're just sitting with them, like occasionally chatting but mostly just painting together is quite nice. So trying it out as a new format. So let me know what you think if you're still watching and you're like, this is great. Maybe let me know what it is that you're working on in the comments. I put on quite a thick layer there, so I've completely obliterated a lot of the stuff underneath, but hopefully I'll be able to figure out where everything's supposed to go. And I'm pretty happy with the colour. I'm just going to let this dry now. Keep having to stop the video and wait for it to dry and come back because I refuse to use hairdryers. That's not something I do. Okay guys, we're back. So it's a few days later. I left it and had other things to do. So now I'm pretty happy with the blue. And it's time to fill in the details with the Posca pens. I've got a few different colours here. I'm really hoping that this yellow goes over the top of the blue. And if not, I might have to draw back over the stars with some gesso. But let's see what happens. It's not very opaque, unfortunately. Oh, also seems to be picking up the blue, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go over it with gesso. Let's see if I try and do one of these stars here. It might be okay if I do a couple of coats. I'm going to have to wait for that to dry now anyway, so I'm going to try doing these little stars. And I do have a smaller one as well, but let's do the main bit with this. So much for all my careful pencil drawing. I can still see a little bit where the shape of the star is underneath, but I am just kind of winging it here. I don't know if you can see this, but the nib of the pen has really picked up the blue, which is surprising to me because this is definitely dry now. It's been dry for several days, so obviously it's not as sort of stuck down as you might imagine. Right, I'm going to do a bit of gesso over that star in the middle. Some of the yellow is mixing with the gesso, which is kind of funny, but that's fine because I want it to be yellow anyway. Yeah, bit of paint has chipped off my paintbrush. It's so annoying. Come off. Because I'm terrible about leaving them in water. I've kind of made up where the edges of the star are, but I think it's fine like that. I'm going to leave that to dry. I'll leave these to dry for a bit longer before I do the next part. Now I'm going to do the trunks of these vine plant things. I can still kind of see where it was underneath. I can also follow the picture that I've got here. And I think I'm going to just fatten them a little bit. It's a bit tricky because I'm having to kind of support these flaps while I'm drawing on them because they're not on a flat surface and they're not strong enough really to take a lot of pressure. So I'm kind of holding them by the hand. Okay. And then there's the one across the top as well. Which kind of also comes off this one. Okay. Okay. See if we can do another coat on these yellow stars now. I think what I'm going to do is sort of get the main design down, even if I'm not completely happy with all the shapes, and then I can come back in later and touch it all up, hopefully, to kind of perfect it. And the gesso's still a bit wet, so I'm not going to do the middle star yet. Let's see about putting some of the small leaves on with this lighter green. That looks quite nice. I think I'm going to have to do another coat of this light green. It seems that the light colours going over the top of this dark blue need a couple of coats, which is kind of understandable really. Okay, let's do this side. Ah, I like that. And I think I need to block in the roses up here before I do the small leaves. I'll leave that for now. I think I'm going to do the water. I've got a light aqua green there. I think this is running out, so I'm going to have to see if I've got another one, hopefully, or if not I might have to replace it. Okay, and then I'm going to use a sort of green background. So I don't know if I've got a Posca pen in that colour, because I want it to be a different colour to the colour of the vines, so I might do that with some paint. I do have this paint. Maybe that's a bit too close to the colour of the vine. I can desaturate it a little bit. I've just found one of these pens. It's not the same size, but it is the same colour. There's also this colour blue, which might be quite nice. Okay, so I've got a little bit of red here, so I'm going to do this green and then put a tiny bit of the red in to desaturate it. Get my trusty rag. Looks a bit better. It's quite dark now, so I might add a bit of this gesso just to lighten it up. A bit more white here. Oops. I think what I want to add is a little bit of yellow. It's making me realise that I didn't do the blue all the way up to the edge here. It means I'm going to have to go in and do a bit more blue there. I think that's quite nice to have something a little bit darker, and I think on here it looks like there's something a bit lighter over the top, so I might do something like that, like some light green stippling or something, just to kind of give it a bit more texture. Right, I think I need to leave that to dry a little bit. And I've got this paint left on my palette, which I'm going to put in a sketchbook. Sort of the colour of spinach or something. I'm thinking maybe I can work on the star in the middle. Although this being wet makes it a bit difficult. Maybe I should work on the roses for now. I feel like for this maybe I should look at a reference picture. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll stop there for now and I'll let this dry. And I'll come back when I've got my reference picture so I can do the roses. I can do the star in the middle and do another coat of the water, and then I need to also do the jug there. Maybe I could do the jugs now actually. Yeah, so for that I want it to be a sort of orangey brown. Or maybe I could do this as a base with the brown Posca. I think I'll do that, and then maybe I can just do some orangey flecks over the top or something. I think I can still just about see the shape underneath. Oh dear, they're a bit mismatched, aren't they? This one goes over the leaves. I think that one needs to be a little lower. I wonder if I can still rub it off. It's okay. Everything can be fixed. The great thing with acrylics, you can just do layers and layers. I think that's better. So I need to touch that up in a bit, but that's okay. And then you have the aqua water splashing down. Yeah, so I'm going to let that all dry, and then I'm going to come back and look at some reference pictures for the roses, do some second coats, do this star, and then I think I need to start touching things up and then maybe adding some little bits of detail. So we're finally getting somewhere. Starting to look a little bit more like I'd planned, so that's good. Yeah, we're back. Okay, this is dry now, so I can do that. I wonder if I've got a bigger yellow. I'm just going to check. I do. It'd be better for covering this large area in the middle. Okay, so even with the gesso, you can still see parts of the blue underneath. So I think I'm going to need to give that one another coat. And these stars also need another coat. And I'm not sure I'm happy with the shapes of them. So I might have to do something about that in a bit. I'm not sure exactly what. So the water needs another coat. So I'm going to try with this blue this time. Okay, I'm going to do these leaves, give them a second coat. Okay, I got some reference pictures of roses, and I think I was really just worried that because I'd drawn these kind of shapes a bit like this, and I was worried that I was doing it wrong. So anyway, seeing this makes me realise that it's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead just draw in the sort of the main shapes of the roses. Okay, and now I can do the little leaves on this vine as well. So I'm going to do another coat on the vases. I'm going to do another coat on these blue bits here. Well, it's taking shape. So I'm seeing now that I need to do another coat of the yellow on there, and even probably on the small stars actually. The roses are definitely going to need a few more coats. I'm wondering whether to actually try just using acrylic, because I thought that this Posca pen would be really opaque, but it's not. I want to come and do a bit more. Oh, I just rubbed off some of that blue. It's no good. I want to do a little bit more on the green, this because it's looking quite dark now. So I want to come in with something a little bit lighter and do some sort of speckling type thing. And then I think I need to do a bit of tidying up with the blue paint that I used to do the rest of the box. For example, here where I got the jug wrong. Maybe tidy up the shape of these stars a little bit, although I'm a bit loath to try and go back over the yellow because it took me so long to go over everything in the first place. But yeah, there's definitely some like bits here that need a bit of work. I need to do a bit of orange over the top of these brown things to give them a bit of shape as well. So yeah, we're getting there. It's probably sensible to leave the yellow to dry a little bit more, even though it looks like it's pretty dry. So I think what I'll do is I'll mix up a slightly lighter green, like more of a, like in this picture, I have quite an olivey green, got a light olive green there. So I think I'll try and mix that up and then do some like dot work over that. So we've got, I think I might not start with that green actually. I think I might start with, I've got a yellow, primary yellow, and no, I think what I need is, ooh, I just found this. This is quite olivey, green gold. So maybe if I mix this with a little bit of the titanium white, I'll get a nice olive. Well, it's quite close to that colour already. But I think if I make it a little bit lighter, it would work well. Oh no, there's a bit of water left from where I washed off the palette. But that's quite a nice colour. I'm just a little bit concerned that it's too watery. So I think I need to try again. I've got a really tiny brush here, which would be good for that. Okay, it's quite nice. It's quite close to the yellow though. So I think we'll have to see how it looks when it dries. Maybe have to, maybe do something else, but let's see. I think it looks okay there where it's a little bit thinner. So I'm going to just take my cloth and just kind of knock it back a bit. It's already dried. It dried so quickly. Might just have to do a bit of a glaze to kind of make it a little bit less yellow. Okay, I've got an orange Posca here. So I'm going to see if I can add some details with it onto this. Okay. Feeling like that orange is a little bit full on. So I'm going to see if I can just dab it a bit, soften it. That's good. And just knocked it back a little bit. And then let's just add a little bit of detail to the water here. Okay, pretty happy with that. I think I can do another coat on the roses. What's going on with this red Posca? It's really not very opaque at all. I think that might need even a third coat before I start adding the details, but it does seem to have helped having a second coat. So I'm going to do another coat on the stars. It's funny because this is giving me a bit of a lesson in Posca paints, Posca pens rather. I'm always going on about how great they are because they're so opaque, they'll go over everything. And this is showing me that actually they're not necessarily as opaque as you might think. Or as I previously thought, maybe. I think there's something about the white one being very opaque, but that's probably because it's got titanium in it. Because the titanium white is very opaque. Still not happy with how opaque that yellow is. I think I'm going to have to just leave it and wait and then see what to do next. And in the meantime, I'm going to come and do some touching up here. Feeling like I want to do a bit of detail work on the stars because they're a bit flat at the moment. So maybe I can do some white lines. It might look nice.
I need a really teeny tiny brush to get in the in there. Now I'm going to try and adjust some of the shapes of these stars. I think I will. Let's see how it goes. Especially these ones at the top where they've kind of they're touching the edge. It's a little white spot there, so I'm just gonna... Still not very happy with the shape of the stars, but maybe I can do that when I do the white detailing work. I need to do another coat on these leaves, small leaves here, so I'll do that next. And I'll just go over these ones that got a bit of the vase colour on them. The thing I'm thinking about now is this green. It's kind of okay, but I might just put a thin wash of this green over the top. Okay, I'm really happy with how it's all looking now. Apart from, I'm not really happy with the small stars. I think the shape of them is not working. And I'm really not happy with the opacity of the yellow of the big star. The roses need to be finished off. I'm really happy with everything else. But I think, although it's a bit radical, I think I'm actually going to cover this bit and these bits back over with gesso and start this again. And this is always my philosophy, is that it doesn't matter if you don't like what you've done, because you can always cover it up. And I think I'm going to cover up the points of this big star with gesso, because obviously trying to do yellow over the blue isn't really working, although I had hoped that it would. It's obviously not working, so I'm going to have to start again with something really opaque, which is gesso's great for that. Start with a white background, and then I think I'm going to draw the stars really carefully, the exact shape that I wanted. I was having another look at the star card for inspiration, and I noticed how spiky the stars are, and these ones have kind of got more blobby, and I think it's because I was trying to draw them with a pen that was too thick. So I think I need to admit defeat, start again, and then paint them really carefully with a very small brush around the edges, so that I can get the detail, the level of detail that I want. Here, I don't know if you can see, but the Posca pen, where it's thick, it's actually started to crack, and it's done it on this one as well. So instead of just painting over, I think I'm going to just give it a little sand. I'm just going to wipe it off with a this damp cloth. Okay, so let's get the gesso out. It might take more than one coat. This is a bit of a lesson in painting with very light colours like yellow and very dark colours like this. This blue is almost a violet, it's almost like a purple. So it's one of the darkest colours, and trying to work with them in layers is, yeah, it's been more tricky than I anticipated. So a bit of a learning curve for me. And usually I'm a very intuitive painter, so doing this where I'm working to a plan and trying to sort of bring it to life has been yeah, a bit of a different way of working for me. Okay, and now I'm going to paint the points of the star in gesso. Right, I think let's give these roses one more coat of this red. Okay, so I'm back. It's actually been a couple of weeks because I've been away on holiday, and this has started to feel like a bit of a, what do you say, like it's really been weighing me down that I haven't actually been able to finish it. So it's taken a bit of like courage to just kind of go like, right, I really need to finish this off. I think because I've tried doing these stars so many times and it's, for one reason or another, it hasn't worked. So I think that doing like lots of layers of gesso so it's really, really white underneath has helped. And then what I did, which I didn't do this on camera, I really needed to like power myself up. So I needed to do it a little bit off camera first, is I took an Inktense pencil and I sharpened it to a really fine point, and then I drew the stars on with this. Now, the reason I chose to do it with an Inktense pencil is because when you wet it, it becomes watery. So if you get it wrong, I mean, the thing is, once it dries, it is permanent, but while it's still wet, you can wipe it off. So if I had a watercolour pencil, I would have used one of those, but I don't have one of those. And I decided, because I was getting really annoyed with the shape of the stars, so I decided to kind of go back to basics and draw the stars on with the crosses, and then come in and draw. You probably can't see on camera because the yellow is so light, but I drew the crosses, and then I came in and I drew the points from the crosses. And then my strategy is I've got like the smallest, finest paintbrush that I can find, that I own, and I'm going to try and paint these stars on using the pencil lines as a guide to get the stars the shape I want them. And then when they're dry, I'm going to also use this really fine pencil to draw around the stars with the blue. And I'm going to have to just be really careful, because as soon as you go over the line a little bit, it ruins the shape. And it's really hard to paint over the blue with the yellow, because it is just so dark, and it's like such a contrast between the light and the dark. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this primary yellow, and I hope I've got enough in here. And I wasn't using this before because it's quite translucent, but I think it'll be fine because I've got the yellow underneath. And hopefully when I put the paint onto this pencil mark, the lines won't show through because it's kind of the same colour. Also, I wanted to use the fluid acrylics because the heavy body acrylics can be quite blobby, whereas these flow really nicely. So I think that this is going to work quite well. So here we go. I really want to finish this shrine, and it's kind of been bothering me that it's taken so long. Shouldn't hopefully need too much water, so I don't want the paint to be too watery. I just put a little bit of water on the brush just to kind of protect the brush, really. So wish me luck. It's so fine, it's like such fine detail. Yeah, it's sort of a bit stressful. I'm going to start with these little stars. That's working quite well, I think. And this brush is actually kind of curved, and I think that's because I am not a very good steward of my brushes, and I tend to put them in the water pot and end up leaving them for a while before I wash them out. And with thicker brushes, it's kind of okay because they can probably stand up to a bit more, but this is so small and fine and delicate that I have the feeling that the process of putting them in the water and leaving them like that, it kind of destroys them. So this would probably be much easier if I had a brush that hadn't been badly looked after. I'm very conscious of my hand shaking. It's funny. I don't know how people who do this kind of fine work all the time manage it, really. I have to have a very steady hand. I think I also have to not be too much of a perfectionist about this, because at the end of the day it is a handmade, hand-painted thing, and it's not going to be completely perfect. But I think that star looks quite nice. I think the thing before was that the points were getting blunted, and then it wasn't looking very star-like. So it's happened there a little bit. I went splodge and then just wipe it off. Hopefully the blue will be able to go over the yellow. I'm starting to think about what I might do for my next shrine. Am I going to do another tarot card or something else? Maybe you have some suggestions. It would be kind of cool to have the full tarot shrine for each card. There are some cards that might be a bit like you might not want to have a shrine to it. Recently I've been channeling the Queen of Swords energy, so maybe I should make a Queen of Swords shrine, because I feel like the Queen of Swords represents to me like clarity of thought, making wise decisions, and I'm at a bit in my personal life I'm having to make some decisions like that. So yeah, I need to be a Queen of Sword follower at the moment. Although if I was to draw the Queen of Swords, I don't think I could get away without drawing or painting the Queen herself, the figure. Drawing figures is something that still scares me quite a lot, so maybe it would be a good opportunity to step out of my comfort zone. So as I'm filming this, it is the end of February, and it's been a bit of a tough winter this year, I have to say. We've just had one virus after the other, so I'm very glad that spring is on the horizon now. Okay, I quite like those stars, so hopefully when I paint the blue around them, I will be able to be just as careful and keep those nice shapes. So I'm going to do the ones on the top here now. And these ones I did kind of more pointy, like longer tip, what do you call the spikes of a star? Rays. I did longer rays at the bottom and top because they're kind of narrower little spaces. So I hope that it comes out okay, because I was kind of drawing them upside down, like I'm painting them upside down now, so they may end up looking like they're upside down. But we'll see. I feel like the yellow pencil worked quite well. Doesn't seem to be showing through. I thought if I used like a regular colouring pencil, they're made like with wax and oil and stuff sometimes, so I wasn't sure that the paint would stick on top of them. Whereas I thought if they were water soluble, they should be able to go over them with acrylic. So let's hope. Here we go. It's looking good. And then I actually changed the shape of the star quite a bit because I felt like it wasn't very centred before. It was kind of off to one side. But I might use a slightly bigger brush to do the middle bit of the star because otherwise I'm going to be here all day. See, this is what I do. I put it in here and then I'll just leave it on its tip, which I shouldn't do because it's damaging it. What I should do is dry it immediately and try and reshape it. I think it's probably past the point of no repair. I don't know how I've managed that. I seem to have smushed outside the line there. It's very annoying. It's a bit tricky doing something very fiddly when it's inside the box, because then the shakiness of my hand is even more pronounced. Wondering whether I will end up making another one like this. I don't know what happened there. I was obviously not being very careful. Well, I don't know how even the star actually is, because you can see that this ray is a lot bigger than this one, which is a bit annoying. I wonder whether I should make this one bigger. Goes out to there. I wonder if I should make this one go out to here. Make it slightly wider. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that so far. I've got quite a lot of paint left. I wonder if these are actually dry. Okay, I'm going to do the second coat on these. And so I'm just looking at this star, and I'm starting to get all perfectionistic about the rays. I told myself I didn't want to do that, but I am going to just try and make it so that this ray is vaguely similar to this one. What's bothering me actually is a little bit that this top one is longer than the bottom one. Oh, that's interesting. I just found another paintbrush which is not quite as small as the other one, but it is straight. It hasn't been destroyed. So I'm going to try using this one. This other paintbrush is actually a lot better. Okay, I'm back. This is dry. I've changed my water so it's nice and clean. Now I am going to try and fill in around the stars with the blue, trying to be really careful. It feels like a really delicate operation, this. I've sort of done half the stars because I don't want to like lean on the wet paint to do the other half. I think I'm going to try the big one now. You know, it would have been so much more sensible to do the stars as collage. Can't believe I'm just thinking about this now. Ah, my goodness. I'm getting a bit sloppy and I'm wondering whether I should take a break, because I need to be really on the ball and careful for this. So I don't want to start getting sloppy because I'm tired and then mess it up. I might just do a little bit of I've got so much paint left, you see. I'd be ashamed to waste it. Try and do a little bit of the
the bits around the outside that don't need the very fine brush. So I'm definitely going to need to do another coat of the blue there. It's definitely getting there now. I think it's looking good. I think I might need to do one more coat, but it's still a bit tacky, so I'm going to leave it to dry for now. Yeah, I'll come back and see if I can make the colour match the rest of the colour so it's not obvious that there's a difference there, especially on the inside part, but also up here where you can see where there are two different colours. And then I've got a few more touching up to bits to do. There's a tiny bit here. Need to do the detail on the roses. Then I think I'm finally nearly be done. All right, I'm back. I'd really like to get this finished now. Been going on, I think I started this, I don't know, weeks ago now. So it's kind of getting to, is that at that stage in a project where you're just so sick of it and you just want to be done with it. I'm just trying to get like the major bits, and then I'm going to have to obviously go in and be more careful around the very fine bits. And I'm going to have to see whether this is actually enough or whether I'll need even more layers to get it to be this deep, rich colour that the rest of it is. Okay, I think it's getting there. There's still some areas here where it's the white from underneath is still shining through, so I'm having to put more and more on. I think if I was doing this again, and I may do some more shrines with this design because I really like it, and then I can have them for sale in my shop. I think I would do the stars with collage rather than doing this, because this is so fiddly. Whereas if you just painted everything blue, then you could collage the stars on top. Obviously, you wouldn't want to collage the green thing, but the green goes over the blue more easily. The yellow is just so light, and the blue is just so dark that it's impossible to do them over the top without using like vast quantities of Posca paint, in which case it ends up not being sharp and crisp in the shape that you want. Yeah, but I'm thinking it's going to be nice little shrine. I hope it's going to stand up okay. And I'm wondering about putting a fastening on the back so you can hang it on the wall. But I kind of wish I'd thought of that when I was in the papier-mâché stage, actually, because I don't know how I'm going to attach something, because obviously I can't put screws through it because it's so thin. So I'll have to stick something on the back, but I wouldn't want it to be attached nice and securely, and I'm slightly worried about how that might work, but we'll see. I might need to do another bit of yellow, especially on this big star where it's got some discoloration from the layers underneath. And it wasn't quite gessoed. I think we're nearly there. I keep saying that. And then having to come back again and again, but I'm determined to finally finish this, so hopefully today. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay, I'm back. I think it's pretty much done now, if you can see, but in some of the points of the stars it's still like a tiny bit white there. I think because it just couldn't quite get the sharpness with the paintbrush. So I have sharpened a yellow colouring pencil and a dark red one, and I'm going to use the dark red to fill in the details of the roses, and I'm going to use this one to sharpen up the edges of the stars. Hopefully it's going to work. And then I think I'm going to be ready to spray fix everything and varnish it. So it's quite exciting. Nearly there, finally. Well, I'm feeling quite proud of it. I think it's finally finished. Yay! Ta-da! Okay, so now I'm going to go and spray fix it outside because the chemical is nasty. You don't want to do it in an enclosed space. I'm going to do it outside. I've got this fixative. It says it's for oil pastels, but it works for other things as well. So in the past, I've discovered that if you don't fix Posca pen, when you go and put varnish over the top, it can smudge and smear, which is really devastating when you've worked so hard on a project and then you think that the Posca pen is like acrylic paint and permanent, and then you go and varnish it and you ruin your whole thing. That's happened to me before, so I've learnt this the hard way. But fixing it with a fixative does actually work, and then you can varnish over the top. So that's what I'm going to use for that. And then I've got this matte polymer varnish with ULVS, which is UV light protection. So then if it's hung in direct sunlight or whatever, it protects it. I don't know how much it protects it, but hopefully that will also give it a nice consistent matte finish. When I've used it on other projects, it's come out quite nice. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then I will come back and I'll do the varnishing with you. Okay, so it's fixed, and now I'm going to put this matte varnish on it, and it says on the bottle, dilute it 4:1 varnish to water. So we need to put a little bit of water in, but just use my favourite old scraggly old brush and maybe put about that much water in. Mix it all up.
So here we go, here's the final finished piece, and I am absolutely thrilled with it. This has been a bit of a monster project, I have to say. There were so many other parts that I cut out where I tried things and they didn't work, and then I had to try other things. It was going to be an absolute monster of a video anyway, so I've kind of simplified the process, but it has taught me so much and I love the final result. And I don't think it's actually put me off trying to do something like this again. I think I will make another shrine, even though this has been a little bit of a monster of a project, but I'm really happy with the final result. So let me know in the comments about what you think about my finished shrine, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!